Welcome back to Sitting Courtside. Today, we are going to be recapping a couple of the first games from the first week, and then going into the weekend, we'll give you some picks. But before we get into that, just want to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by none other than us, Sitting Courtside. You can go over to Happy Hippo Home Decor. What a mouthful of a place. That makes no sense. To support us if you guys would like. We got sweatshirts, t-shirts. We got, is it a tumbler? I think is what I was told later.
Tumbler. Yep.
Everything over there. If you guys want to support the podcast, everything helps. Also, you can go like, subscribe to the YouTube, which you should be watching right now. So like, why did you not just hit that little notification bell? Anything you guys do would be great. Support the cause, support the crew, support us. Other than that, let's get started. All righty, we are back with another episode of Sitting Courtside. It has been an exciting first week.
Mm-hmm.
Quite frankly, I'm just going to say this right now. We are the hottest gambling college basketball sports podcast in the country. No one hotter than us right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've kind of exchanged roles. You're going with the volume, and I'm going with the single picks right now. But I'm sure that'll change for me going forward. But my goodness, man, I'm 4-0. But what is your record? You had one of the best first days I've ever even heard of in college basketball.
I'm gonna just preface this now. There is zero chance this survives. All right, zero chance. So I had it pulled up. I've been doing everything on Betting Pros for everyone. So again, you're like, oh, there's no way. It's on the internet. Go find it. Through the first week thus far, I am 30-14, 68.2%.
Oh my goodness. That is great.
That is at the current moment of this podcast. I will tell you right now, between what currently is going to be going on Thursday night and Friday, I have 43 additional plays.
Just 43, just
a casual 43 additional plays ready to go for you guys to go if you want to go over to Betting Pros and check those out. But I'm hot as they come. They come. You, sir, you've not lost a game.
I have not.
Some would say maybe you're better than me at this point.
I mean, the games, honestly, that we previewed last podcast, they've went exactly how we thought they were. Like we'll recap it here shortly, but honestly, we've been right on top of all these games. So I don't know. Hopefully you guys listened to the first podcast because you guys at least tripled your bankroll right now if you listened to it and followed his picks on Twitter.
Yes. Let's get in the games because I have a couple of thoughts on a few of these and I can't wait to talk about them.
All right, let's start with Monday, the very first day of college basketball, where we had the biggest upset of the very early season, where Michigan State, are they super overrated or just a little bit overrated? They lost to James Madison 76-79 in overtime. They shot 1 of 20 from 3, and they only had one other guy outside of Walker that hit more than 2 shots all game. It was truly a disastrous opener for Izzo. First time they've lost their home opener since 1976. It was awful for Izzo and company.
Yeah, honestly, they should be panicking. Like the panic button needs to physically be out on the desk, ready to hit, because it wasn't like they had bad rebounding or like the big men didn't show up. Like literally the strength of the team is the guard play, and it wasn't there. It was non-existent. It was honestly the complete opposite of what I said they needed to do, really, as a team. But to give just credit where credit is due, JMU is picked to win their conference this year. So they're not just a slouch basketball team. If I remember correctly, I think were they in the same position as Bellarmine last year, where I think they actually did win
I think you're
their
right.
conference and couldn't go to the tournament. So like they're a decent basketball team. But again, you're a preseason top 5 team. The line, I'm pretty sure, was not extreme either. I'm trying to remember what it was again. But yeah, it just
15.5 or 16.5, one of those two.
Nothing crazy, I guess, when you think about Michigan State going against JMU. So wild nonetheless, but I think when you ask the question super overrated or overrated, I'm going to lean overrated only because, again, they're that top 5. If they would have been ranked like 17th and lost this game, I'd have been like, okay, we just overestimated them, not necessarily overrated them. But given what happened, I would not be feeling too good as a Michigan State fan.
And I don't ever really root for Michigan State, so I thought it was kind of funny that Izzo's nephew was on the James Madison bench as one of the coaches. So that was
that's just great. Like where he's basically right now, he's doing the anti-Nick Saban.
All right, I know we didn't pick that game, but we had to start off with the biggest episode of the season. But let's go into a couple of games that we did pick. USC and Oregon, they impressed early in wins over both Georgia and Kansas State. I was really impressed by the 2 guards for USC. I don't know about you, but Ellis and Kohler. Kohler played a great first half. Ellis closed out the game in the second half, and then with Oregon over Kansas State, yeah, or over Georgia, Oregon over
Yeah.
Georgia. They just led from the start. Georgia was not impressive at all. So those were two easy wins if you did go with us from the podcast last time. But those two teams, I think we'll see pretty common in the top 25, both Oregon and USC.
Yes, I would agree with you. And I'm sorry, I do have 43 plays out. Like I said,
Yes.
I forget who Oregon is playing off the top of my head. I think they're playing tomorrow. The line is only like 4.5. I was shocked when I seen it.
Oh, wow.
So go find whoever Oregon is playing. I've already hammered that play. Oregon, though, like you said, they played extremely well. You nailed USC. Credit to you. I was on the opposite side of that. I had K-State, but I did after the show tail you on the over. So that worked out really well. USC is exactly what you said, though. They're going to be an amazing offensive team. I don't know if you've seen after the game, LeBron James tweeted about his son. Supposedly it would have been, I think it's already happened this week, maybe actually as of, this will be Friday. You're watching it as of yesterday on Thursday. I think you're supposed to go see a doctor and see if we get cleared to play. If he joins that team, again, he's not at the level of the other two freshmen they have, but he will definitely add depth and another ball handler, which will be important down the stretch with them. I think USC is going to be an exciting team, and you, kudos to you, you nailed it every step of the way last episode.
When I got to be honest, I didn't know. I knew Kohler was the number one freshman in the nation, but I had no idea he was built like he is. He looks like a junior in college. He is just a thick guard. Like when I saw him on the first possession, he got a steal for a layup, and I was like, man, that is a grown man of an 18-year-old. So
yes, 100%. Did you watch him in the McDonald's All-American game?
I did not. I got to be honest, I did not watch the McDonald's All-American game.
I didn't know who he was, to be fair, until that game. And when I saw him playing, I was just like, where has this guy been? Because the talk was always Bronny. And then he shows up. I'm like, Bronny is trash compared to this.
This guy is legit. But yeah, on Monday, basically every top 25 team played, and only one that struggled was Michigan State. Everybody else took care of their business. But one team that barely squeaked by that we've already mentioned a few times on podcasts, Louisville, 94-93 over UMBC. It took a missed free throw at the end for Louisville to take down UMBC. And honestly, I don't think it's going to get much better than this. They just have not proven anything in the last 2 years, and it's just so disheartening that they're just not even relevant in college basketball anymore.
Yeah, I've referenced since before. I go to Louisville like every day for work. Louisville is in shambles. The fan base isn't behind them. No one wants to go to those games. I'm not going to be shocked if they finish the year literally. So they have a home game coming up. I'm trying to see what it is against because they're actually favored in the game, and I can't believe it. But I'm not going to be shocked if they literally have an attendance of like 10% of the Yum Center. Because it's low right now when it comes to the confidence in Louisville. Who in the heck do they play? I'm blanking on here.
Is it Friday or is it Saturday?
Oh, here it is. Chattanooga. They play Chattanooga on Friday, 7:00. They're favored by 4.5. Nope.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Just take Chattanooga, honestly. It's going to turn into an auto play for me. Of just whoever Louisville's playing, take the other team. Like that's how bad it's gotten there. Speaking of attendance too, you brought this to my brain. Did you see the attendance of last night's game for DePaul?
I did not know.
It'd be Wednesday. Sorry, Wednesday's game. So their stadium, arena, whatever you want to call it, holds approximately 10,000 people.
Okay.
For a home game, again, DePaul is not a bad team.
No.
They had 981 people in attendance.
Oh my goodness.
9% of the arena was. Could you imagine going to DePaul and there's 9,000 open seats?
Yeah. And like think if you're a booster, like think about like NIL or anything. Like why would you ever give money to the team if that's what's going to show up there?
And if you remember, they came out hot last year. They were kind of like a sneaky team for us that we kind of liked, but we weren't really sure about them, and they fizzled like they always do. But I was shocked when I seen that. I was like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah, last year they had
all DePaul is basketball.
Yep, and it's right in the heart of basically Wrigley, so there's plenty of people that could go. So
anyway,
all right, we'll move to Tuesday, where we probably had the biggest matchup, where it was Baylor versus Auburn. Auburn got off to a quick start; they were ahead at halftime, 43-34, but then Baylor absolutely took over. Their defense was just amazing in the second half. I thought it was going to be, is it RJ Dennis? Is that his name?
I think that's what it is.
Ray J. Dennis. I thought it was going to be him that took over for Baylor. It was actually Jacoby Walter, their 5-star freshman. He had 28 points. He was absolutely ridiculous. And I think I previewed it with Auburn last podcast that their weakness was going to be their guard play. They had 6 turnovers and 3 assists, so it really hurt them. And the pressure just all half killed them. So yeah, Baylor 54-39 in the second half, and they win 88-82. What'd you think of that game?
Yeah. So again, I felt pretty good going through the first half because I said Auburn's defense I thought would do well enough and keep it as a close game. Obviously, got away from them in the second half. I don't think that was ever a game that Auburn was going to win, given the score. 88-82. That's not a game. I think I maybe even said like they got to keep it below 140 total. But I do think when we look at that game, that will be an important game as a measuring stick towards as we get, I would say, into conference play, because that tells us honestly a lot about Baylor and what they've got going on, but also Auburn. I think their ability to show up preseason or beginning of the season against a big time team like Baylor. I think it's going to be a good measuring stick. But other than that, I mean, yeah, you nailed everything with Baylor and their guard play and that freshman. He just lighten it up.
Yep. And of course, we know most of our listeners are probably from the state of Indiana or grew up here and they were still follow Indiana. So we have to talk about the IU game against Florida Gulf Coast. They won 69-63, IU did, but it was definitely a one possession game most of the second half. And if you don't know too much about Florida Gulf Coast, very small team that shoots a lot of threes, and they were missing transfer Isaiah Thompson. If you remember, he played for Purdue 2 years ago. He is their leading scorer from last year, and he missed this game, and yet they still were able to compete against IU. The only positive that I took from IU in this game is that they are very tall and very strong because I think it was 32 fouls that they forced on Florida Gulf Coast, while they only had 9 fouls called against them. So they were physically bigger and better than Florida Gulf Coast, but that won't translate in the Big Ten. Their 3-point shooting looked a lot like it did last year, very inconsistent and not very good. Alarming, but it's a young team, so I don't want to take away too much from it. But I mean, Florida Gulf Coast shot terribly too, so it was kind of shocking that they didn't blow them out with them missing their best player and their second best player going 3 of 15 from the field.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you're nice. They stink. They're not good. I won't trust them to win a single Big Ten game after what I watched.
Yeah.
Their guard play, as you somewhat hinted at, there's not any.
No.
0. Literally, all you have to do to understand what Indiana's guard play looks like, watch the last 90 seconds of that game.
Yep.
I literally was telling my wife, I was like, I know third grade basketball that would break this press better than they are. Like, Renew, who's their sophomore center, power forward, whatever you want to call him, should never have the basketball in his hands unless he's within 3 feet of the basket. Like when he touches the ball, bad things happen, and that's exactly what happened. Quite frankly, they should have lost the game. Florida Gulf Coast, the best year they had for the game, he had a wide open look to make it a 1-point game. It goes in and out, and then as you said, Indiana just basically used their size and strength. But that was a disgusting game. Quite frankly, I'm not sure the Big Ten's good.
Yeah, I know, right?
Between Michigan State and Indiana, those are supposed to be 2 of your top 5 teams preseason, and they both did not show up. At this rate, Purdue might not even have to play anyone, and they'll just give them the trophy. Like it's wild. Also, on that note, not something we usually talk about, Purdue, since we're talking Indiana, just submitted their highest ranked class in school history.
Yeah,
I did see number 8 ranked recruiting class in the country.
Yep.
And Painter he's figuring it out because he's doing everything opposite of Indiana. He went and got himself 3 very athletic guards and a white kid that can shoot 4 days.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just preface this now. Jack Benner, he does go to the high school I went to. He's the son of actually the high school basketball coach I played for. I've watched him play. He's a good player. I went and watched some of his highlight tapes though. That kid will hit the shot from 30 feet like it's Steph Curry. And then they got another kid from Indiana, from Brownsburg, where you went to school.
Where I went to school.
He's the number 6 recruit in the country. I watched some of his, maybe the most athletic player I've ever seen play.
Yep.
They are going to light it up. Purdue is going nowhere. So for anyone that's not sure what they want to do with their basketball allegiance, just start buying Purdue stock.
Yeah.
Because Painter knows what he's doing up there in Lafayette.
And I just want to go back real quick to Florida Gulf Coast. I'm going to be betting them early and often, especially in conference play once Isaiah
Yes.
Thompson's back, because that style is going to win them a lot of games. Yes, they'll have those duds every once in a while where they shoot like 5 of 30 from three, but they're very talented. They're just not tall. So I'm going to back them, especially in conference play.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy to have whenever you're like in those smaller conferences like that, because it really does come down to guard play and shooting. Because again, it's not a size game when you get
Mm,
into those smaller conferences like it is in like the Big Ten and the
yep.
SEC, all those schools. So yeah, I think that's a good strategy.
All right, let's move to Wednesday, where I had the most entertaining game I
Yeah.
watched all week because it had the Barstool broadcast, which I thought honestly was a very cool broadcast that I would love to have at least once a week because it was very entertaining. I don't know if anybody watched it, but FAU beat Loyola 75-62. The game was boring; it was crap to watch, but the broadcast was entertaining, so I watched the entire game. We called it last podcast. This should have been a double-digit spread. We even said it could be up to 15. They won by 13. It came in at set or 5.5. It only rose to 6.5. So we nailed this so much better than Vegas did.
Yeah, Vegas, keep making mistakes.
Yeah.
I literally, you text me in the morning. I spent every bit of 2 minutes stewing over it and watched the line go up a full point. I actually
Mm-hmm.
ended up buying back a half point because it made me just a little nervous. But talk about like just raking it in. I made it a whale play for anyone that follows
Yeah.
the Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was great. You said you did 2 units just for the people.
Mm-hmm.
I did 2.5 units. Plus, that was on the game, 2.5 units. I did a full unit on first half -3, which was the easiest bet of my life.
Yeah.
They just keep doing that, Vegas, and I will continue to bet FAU. I can't believe you made such a poor mistake, especially
Yep.
when FAU's strength is offense, and they
Yep.
played Loyola, who literally their coach said they didn't practice defense this year because they're so bad at offense.
Uh-huh. And just to go into a little bit of stats on this one, they started off really slowly. Neither team could hit a shot, but once FAU got their footing, they basically handled Loyola. They didn't really look like an elite team, but they took care of business, which is what those like mid-major, really stud teams do. Golden, their big man in the middle, he won MVP for this like little Barstool tournament thing that they do. But he had
Yep.
19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 blocks, and 4 steals. And every time he was in the game, Loyola could not get into the paint. It was just absolutely a block shot, a steal every time. So Golden, if he ever gets hurt, that'll change the complexity of this team because there's 4 guards and him. But honestly, I'm buying in still on FAU. This game didn't change anything, and it also didn't change anything with me with Loyola. I don't think they're going to be any good this year.
No, they're gonna be bad.
Yeah.
Speaking of Barstool, shout out Barstool. You don't need it, but anyway, did you watch the second game?
I only watched it on mute. I did not watch like with the commentary.
That's
No.
fine. That's fair. You really didn't even need that. All you need to know is Bobby Hurley, you're a psychopath.
Yeah, so you can definitely
He
see
was
that. Just
losing his mind 2 minutes into the game.
yep, yep.
I've never seen someone get so angry so
Uh,
quickly. That you would have thought that like he had the number one team in the country and they were losing to like the worst team in the country.
yep.
That was entertaining enough. You didn't even need the sound on.
I do love the one thing about the broadcast I love, besides just it being blue and not having any, like, you could say literally anything you want, is them constantly talking about their bets, because that's all we're doing when we're sitting there watching the game. So.
Yes. So I want to remember who brought this up. I feel like it was either me, you, Dylan, or someone else talking to someone, but like there needs to always just be an alternate broadcast
Yeah.
where like it's guys like me and you. And I don't want famous people. I literally want Joe Schmoes who are like literally just talking about what's going on gambling, because then that will actually make it exciting. Like you're talking a trash game. So there's a Thursday night football game going on as we're talking about this. It's a trash game. But if you bet the game and you have some degenerates doing commentary on the side, that'll get real interesting.
Yeah.
Real quick.
I was watching a game with 2 minutes left, a 17-point game, and all they were talking about was the over that Big Cat needed. And it's like I kept watching until the final
But see,
buzzer.
that's what I'm talking about. That's relatable, because how many times, I mean, just this year on Sunday or like Monday Night Football, the game's over or it's just the worst game in the world. And I'm staying up and my wife's like, why are you staying up for this garbage game? And it's like, well, I got the -2.5. I need to know if it hits. Or like I have DeAndre Swift for a touchdown.
Yeah.
It needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Did you have anything else for the recap for the week? It's pretty slow week right before a huge weekend, but did you have anything else?
No, I pretty much hit most of the other things throughout our banter. So yes, we are good to move on to the picks, which I'm excited for.
Awesome. So we're going to have picks for Friday, and then we'll preview a game on Monday, Saturday, and Sunday slate. little rough. We're gonna give you, let's see, 6 picks for Friday, but also check our Twitter. We'll give you. There's more than just 6 really good games. We previewed a few of them last podcast at the very, very end. But we're gonna go through probably the 6 biggest games on Friday, one on Monday, and then again check our Twitter throughout the weekend because there'll be plenty of plays. All right, let's start with the biggest game, in my opinion, of the weekend. Friday, 7 p.m., number 12, Arizona, who is 1-0, at number 2, Duke, who is also 1-0. The spread currently sits at Duke minus 4.5 and an over-under at a grand 153.5. It's early, but I think it's safe to say Arizona is one of, if not the top scoring team in the nation, just like they were last year. They finished 5th. And I'm also going to go out on a limb and say Duke's one of the deepest teams that I can remember, and maybe one of the deepest teams in the nation, at least from a Duke perspective. If you didn't notice or didn't watch their first game, their 9th and 10th players were their second and third best 5-star freshmen, and they were missing one of their starters. So they go 11 deep. But Arizona's issue isn't depth either. They scored 122 points in game 1 despite playing nobody more than 22 minutes and no one scoring more than 18 points. So they have a lot of depth as well. I think a huge thing will Mark Mitchell be able to come back for this game for Duke? He's their best defender. He can guard 3 to 4 different positions, and he makes those freshmen go further back in the rotation. Caleb Love, at least one of my least favorite players, gets another shot to take down Duke here at Cameron. This matchup is honestly a great one because it's strength versus strength basically across the board. Who do you like in this matchup, Arizona Duke?
So my first reaction when I seen this line was to take Arizona, though I do have Duke as a national title. Then I remembered this is not a neutral site game. This is actually at Cameron Indoor. So based on what you just said, all those reasons, I'm going to take the over 153.5. I do actually think that Duke will not want to run up and down with Arizona because then they're just like kind of getting into their game. Yeah. But you just referenced it. They have way more depth. And I could see Duke and that young team being like, you guys want to play this game? We'll play this game because you're going to get tired way before we do. And it turns into this just wild game, like 91-87 or something, right? Where it's just wildly over, like 10 minutes to go in the game, and I've already hit my bet.
Yeah. I like the over. I definitely would not even want to mess with that under because this game is going to have very little defense play. Duke did not do too well on defense in their first game against a minor opponent, just is a very inferior opponent. Obviously, I'm going to take Duke in this game just because I think more talented. I'm just a huge fan of Duke, obviously. But what I'm going to wait is this game's already went down a point and in some places 1.5. So I would like to wait to hold it until Friday to make the bet. For the pod, I'll say I'll take the minus 4.5. I'll probably put out on Twitter like a -3 at like a minus 130 instead. But I like Duke, but wait it out because I think, especially if Mark Mitchell's rolled out, I just think more money is going to come in on Arizona. So I would say wait, but I'm going to go with Duke.
Yep, like the strategy.
All right, we go from a run and gun game to a game that features Florida versus Virginia at 7 p.m. on Friday night. It's a game with Virginia, so no, it's going to be a grinder here. Florida was 186th in points per game last season, but they now have a new center, 7-1 center from Marshall, and a new very good point guard from Iona who played for Rick Pitino last year. He shot 43% from 3, and he's a pass-first guard as well. Their sophomore, Riley Kugel, is a shooting guard who went off for 23 points in the season opener, and he made all freshman SEC team last year. So I think they're a much better offense this year, along with having a rim protector. UVA had 10 players see double-digit minutes and a 30-point win over Tarleton. I don't know how many of those players will get minutes. There's blowout, so I'm not really sure how deep Virginia is after one game. They are a much different team than last year, though. They don't have their top 3 scorers. I'm a little bit worried about their offense like normal, not worried at all about their defense. So their offense has me worried. I like what Florida did with the transfers and building on trying to be more offensive than defensive. I'm actually going to take Florida in this neutral site game against Virginia.
So I was also leaning Florida when I was going through this game, but Virginia always finds a way to just screw me over every step of the way. If you recall, they were one of the first 3 teams last year that were dead to me. I'm putting them officially on pre-dead notice before this game is even over. But I think this is a challenge. I'm taking the under 136.5 As you said, Virginia does not have their top scores. They're going to play defense. They always play defense. I do like the Florida team. I'm going to actually say pre-favorite team at this point. If Florida finds a way to win this game and win it handily, they're going to be one of my favorite teams for really no other reason other than no one has a team to root for in the SEC, minus the Must Bus. So yeah, we're going to go under 136.5. You're pre-dead to me, Virginia. If you do not hit the under for me, you're going to probably be dead to me.
And I forgot to mention the spread. You got the over under. The spread is Virginia -1.5. I'm just going to take Florida money line, and you'll get it at +115. It's not really any big deal there, but I'll take the Florida money line.
Perfect.
All right, let's move on to our third game on Friday, 7 p.m. Number 15, Texas A&M at Ohio State. They're both 1-0. Let's see what the spread is. We got Texas A&M -1.5, over under 138.5. Get used to this. This game is going to be on Peacock, and many of these games this season, including more on this slate, will be on there. So you need to find an illegal stream or pay for yet another service. So just so if you didn't know that,
find the illegal stream, please.
Yes, exactly. So Ohio State, they really struggled in the opener against Oakland. They were down at half, and it was a 1-2 possession game all second half until they won by 6 points. This is coming off a 16-19 year, and they do have a very solid starting five this year. They have 3 returners, and they have Battle from Minnesota. You might remember him, and a big-time 5-star freshman who actually led them in scoring in the first game. But that's about it. They really don't have much on their bench. A&M, you might recall the last podcast, I picked them as my preseason pick to win the SEC. They have an elite defense that return their top 2 leading scorers, including Wade Taylor, who I think will win SEC Player of the Year. And obviously, I love Buzz Williams, so I think they have a coaching advantage here. I'm going to obviously lean here. I think it's a gift of a line at -1.5, so I'll take Texas A&M -1.5. What do you like here?
I'm going to treat this game like we were treating the FAU game. I think this is a mistake. Vegas has somehow missed the mark on this game. Ohio State struggled in their home in their opener that they had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get how they're even remotely in the same ballpark with Buzz Williams, a team that always, again, plays good defense. He's one of the top 10 coaches in the country. But the market is all over the place with this one. You'd already referenced the 1.5. I was looking at some of the sports books. Some sports books just have this all the way down to a pick 'em.
Oh, man.
Like no one really knows what to do. And the totals are going all over the board. Some of them have it at 137.5. Others have it at 139.5.
Okay.
I will say I did get it with DraftKings at 139.5. But again, if you find a number you like, probably take it. Otherwise, you can do the hold strategy and figure out how the market starts to set.
Yep.
And it also will, again, depend on what sportsbook you use. But again, Texas A&M is like a no-brainer. So again, I have the under 139.5, and I did get the +1.5 with Texas A&M.
Nice. I like it. So we go from an over-under of 139.5 to an over-under of 160.5 as Memphis goes to Missouri, both 1-0 teams, 9 p.m. Friday. The spread is Missouri -1.5. I know you were in on Memphis. I saw that you did tweet about some news with Memphis. So do you want to go ahead and take over this game and give your pick first?
Yes, let me get this pulled up. Right away, I just want to say, NCAA, how dare you?
Yes.
Let the kids play, though he is a 27-year-old man. Let's just get that out of the way. But
yes.
I mean, I love Memphis. I've said that before. Missouri, I'm not really sure what to think of them yet. They're one of those teams I feel like they're always under the radar, but they can be really good. I think it was last year they kind of started out slow. I think they were like around 500, if I recall correctly, and then had a big burst where I think they won like 9 or 10 in a row, like right there. Yep. I think they had a deep run in the SEC tournament as well. I'm not going to jump on a side for this one. I'm just going to look at what they did. Both teams scored 100+ points in their opener. That tells me they like to run up and down the court, which I knew about that with Memphis. I'm taking the over. I don't know what line you said. I got 159.5.
Okay. Just a point difference. So yeah, take it.
Again, okay, so there you go. Yep. You already have a point difference just on the sports book. So I'm going 159.5 with what I've got. But again, do your research.
So speaking of research, you led me right into what I say. I did so much. Out of all the 7 games, this is the one that took me the longest to research. And I'll just preface it by saying I came to the result of I have no idea. But anyway, here's what I found. Again, another year of all offense for Missouri. They have many returnees, but they also have Bates from IU and Grill from Iowa State. So obviously they went into the transfer portal. 2 of their 5 starters is from the transfer portal. Memphis also deep, and they have numerous transfers as well. They have Quinley from Alabama. They have Mills from Florida State. They have Walton from Wichita State. I'd be lying to you if I said I knew how to handicap it, like I mentioned, because these teams are just so much different than where they still play the same style. They have different players. I think Memphis is better, but Missouri is the home team. 160.5 or 159.5 that you got it at. That just scares me because if one team goes on like a 5-minute dry spell,
Mhm.
they overshot. So I'm going to take the home team, but this is only because it's supposed to be a good game that I'm picking this side. I would stay away from it unless you have a real big hunch on which side you'd like to take here.
There you go. For the show, you gave your pick, but you
Yep.
hate it. Love it.
Yes. Yeah.
You hate it. I
Exactly.
love it. Love that you hate it.
Perfect. Let's move on to 9 p.m. Another Peacock game on Friday. Number 9 Tennessee. I think they are at -1.5 over under 135. They're taking on Wisconsin in Madison, so it's a road game for Tennessee. Um, it is good news for Tennessee. Both Kavi and Ziegler played in the first game. Shockingly, I thought they were both going to miss time. They played 21 and 12 minutes respectively. Tennessee is significantly shorter than last year from my research, but they are just as strong, just as thick as they were before. Just imagine they're football players. That's basically what's on the court for Tennessee. Wisconsin is basically the same team they were last year, but they added AJ Storr from St. John's, who's an elite three-point shooter. He shot over 46% from three last year. Wisconsin, they really struggled to score last year. I went to a game against Purdue where they literally, for an entire half, couldn't hit a shot. But Hepburn, Storr, and Klismet gives them a solid backcourt, and they have Crawl and Wall, who feel like they have literally been there for 20
That's
years.
that's not a real thing. Crawl
I
and
know.
wall. What is? Are we doing the minions? Is it,
And it's just crazy because every year they roll out these same two guys, and it's like there's the 6'9" guy that does all the pump fakes in the world, and there's the 7-foot white guy that only does hook shots, and it's just the same guys every year. They fell apart at the end of last year. They missed the tournament, but I do like Wisconsin's experience. They're at home. Tennessee, they're a little bit wounded, so I'm a little bit nervous for this game. But there's just so much more talent on Tennessee than Wisconsin. I hate to take the road team again here, but I'm going to take Tennessee minus the 1.5. I'd get on it now. I don't think a lot of public's going to back Wisconsin, so get in it as soon as you can. If you're wanting to back Tennessee, I'll take Tennessee minus 1.5.
I 100% agree with that last sentence. The public will see this and they will immediately get Tennessee because of the number next to their name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I, on the other hand, this is, pardon my French here, a wet dream for any gambler. If you look at this over under, in no world whatsoever are they getting anywhere close to this total.
Yeah,
I was 100% assuming this total is gonna be like 122. When I saw this number, I was like, well, that's no brainer. I had to do no research. Historically, both great defenses, both teams can't score under easy.
Yeah, I like it. And I didn't even read the first thing I had on my comments here. I said, "Will this game reach its full total? Even reach what Memphis and Missouri reached by halftime?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
All right, let's move to the last game on Friday night, 9 p.m. Number 17 San Diego State at BYU, both 1-0. These teams seem to play each other every year, and every year it's a contrast in styles. BYU's offense, San Diego State's defense. They've met 6 times in the last 6 years. Every game decided by 9 or less points. San Diego State has won 4 of the 6. Which side are you going here? Over under wise, I did not know the over under, but
over under
which
is
side
146.
Okay.
I'm confused by this game.
Yeah.
I don't understand this. Why is this line the way that it is? It feels like a trap.
And you got it at BYU minus 2.5, or do you have it minus 3?
Minus 3.
Okay.
This feels like a trap, though. This feels like we've talked about it. Like they're putting a little cheese out there. Like maybe FAU was a setup. They're like, oh, they think we're dumb, And now they put this sign out there. They're putting a little cheese, But I'm not going to be man in the suit. I'm not going to trick myself. I'm going to be smart. I'm going to play my game. I'm taking San Diego State plus 3. I'm also taking the under 146 because San Diego State does play really good defense. However, BYU just seems to shoot the lights out of it at home. It is in the elevation at Utah, so the ball does fly a little bit better, but they also fly long.
Yes, that's true.
So I'm going to take the under 146 because it is early in the year. I think BYU is going to need to adjust to that defense. They're not used to having big old hands in their faces. And maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know. So don't make me an idiot, Vegas.
So again, this is one of those that if we didn't have it on the podcast, I probably wouldn't pick because I don't know how these teams really fare. I mean, obviously BYU is led by Spencer Johnson. He's there they always have a do-it-all guard. He's that one this year. He shot 46% from 3. San Diego State lost their 2 best scorers from last year. So it's just really tough for me to handicap this without watching these 2 teams yet.
Yes.
I saw a computer projection. It wasn't from KenPom, but it was from somebody that I kind of support like Ken Palm, and it had this game at going at about 151. So I'm going to actually take the over in this game, which means if I had to lean somewhere, I'd lean with BYU because it's going to get over, it's going to be because BYU wins it. But I'm going to take the over, just kind of see how this game plays out. Again, I'm not real in on this game, but since it's on the pod, I'm going to take the over in this one.
Okay, so let's go with the theory of we put it on the pod for anyone that thinks they have to bet this game because it's at 9:00 at night.
Yeah.
But I will also agree with your sentiment of I'm avoiding this at all costs. Again, I throw down the picks for the pod. This is one of those games I have to see what's going on. I feel scared. I'm scared.
Yeah,
God,
it's very scary.
I need you to hold my hand. I'm scared.
I'll try virtually hold your hand. All right, let's quickly do the last game on Monday.
Yes.
The 13th of November, 6:30 p.m. Michigan, who's 1-0, versus St. John's, who's 1-0. This is at Madison Square Garden. The start of Rick Pitino's career got off to a decent start with a 16-point win over Stony Brook. It's classic fashion, though. They did the pressure defense all over the court, and they have a 4-out 1 in offense. They shot the ball incredibly efficient. There's no way you can expect them to shoot as well as they did. 50% from three, missed one free throw all game. Four of their 5 starters are seniors, and they were either the second or best player on their teams if it was at St. John's or anywhere else. I think they play bully ball. They're just huge, thick, very old players, and you never refer to a Michigan team that way. You just never do. We don't have a line for this. I hope it comes out to nearly even. I expect Michigan to probably be favored, honestly, but I'm going to take St. John's here just because they're very experienced. And I think they have more talent than Michigan.
Yeah, I've decided this year I hate Michigan. I don't know why I said that, but for some reason I just don't trust them, right? Like they're the guy in the corner that just always looks at you weird. I don't trust you. They can be really wrong, but for now I don't like them. I'm going to follow everything you just said there. I'm going to take St. John's. And yeah, also it's in New York.
Yep.
It's like a 3-minute walk from St. John's campus.
Yep.
It's basically a home game.
Yep. All right. So those are the big games for the weekend and on Monday. Obviously, we're going to put out a lot more picks on Twitter, so definitely go check us out. Jordan's at Mingo Made. I'm at
Mingo
Kyle
Made one. Mingo Made
Mingo
one.
Made one. Okay. And I'm at Kyle Cliffy. I'll give you more than one pick a day, basically what I've been averaging right now. Obviously, Friday, I'll have a ton of picks out. But yeah, best of luck this weekend. Let's dominate the biggest weekend in college basketball start because it's the first weekend. And we'll talk to you next week.
Love you guys.